Have you ever wondered if a single cut of a razor blade could change a child's destiny? This is the story of Nkosi, the girl with the shining bald head and eyes that held more questions than answers. Nkosi's head gleamed like polished ebony under the morning sun. Her skin was a deep, rich brown that caught the light as if it carried its own secret glow. Her neck was long and graceful, her arms slim but strong. Those white, curious eyes, bright like the surface of the river after rain, always seemed to be searching for something beyond the village fences. Nkosi lived with Mama Nkosi and Papa Nkosi on the quiet outskirts of Umuaro village. Their home was a mud house with a roof of dry palm fronds, where the scent of the nearby river mixed with the smoke from Mama Nkosi's cooking fire. Papa Nkosi was a fisherman, a man whose face was hardened by the sun and by stubborn beliefs. Mama Nkosi sold Ankara fabrics in the village market, her laughter warm like evening fire, yet her heart carried a worry she never voiced. From the day Nkosi was born, Mama Nkosi shaved her head clean, Kodo style, using a small razor blade. Every month, she drew the blade gently across her daughter's scalp until it shone like a dark moon. "Your head must stay pure," Mama Nkosi always whispered, though she never explained why. The ritual felt sacred, and Nkosi learned not to ask too many questions. For 9 long years, Nkosi never stepped beyond their compound. She watched life from a distance, the breeze moving through the tall bamboo, the sound of children's laughter carrying across the fields like echoes from another world. The outside was a story she only dreamed of. One humid morning, when the mist still hugged the river, Mama Nkosi finally said, "Today, you follow me to the market." Nkosi's heart thumped. The market was the beating heart of the village, a place she had imagined 1,000 times. She wore a simple patterned gown that Mama had sewn, its colors dull but alive under the sun. As they walked the dusty road, Nkosi's eyes widened at everything: the endless line of trees, the chatter of women balancing baskets on their heads, the smell of roasted maize that drifted like a promise. Then she saw them, children in neat uniforms laughing and running toward a low building painted the color of morning sky. "What place is that?" Nkosi asked, her voice small but certain. "That is the school," Mama Nkosi replied, adjusting the fabric bundle on her hip. Nkosi stopped, her bare feet rooted in the red earth. "Mama, I want to go there. I want to learn. I want to read the books they carry." Mama Nkosi's smile froze. For a moment she said nothing, only staring at her daughter's bright, determined eyes. Finally she murmured, "We will talk to your father." But Papa Nkosi was a man of the old ways. When Mama spoke to him that night, his voice was like the crash of river rocks. "A girl needs no school," he barked. "Books will fill her head with foreign things. She must learn the river, the home, the market, not the white man's letters." Nkosi, standing in the shadows, felt the words cut deeper than the razor that shaved her head. Yet something inside her refused to shrink. The fire in her chest burned hotter, as if her very soul knew she was meant for more. That night, while the moon painted silver lines across the hut, Mama Nkosi knelt beside her sleeping daughter and touched her smooth scalp. She whispered a prayer Nkosi could almost hear, a prayer of protection, a prayer of defiance, because Mama Nkosi knew something Papa Nkosi did not, something about the reason she shaved her daughter's head so faithfully, something about a prophecy whispered by the village elder before Nkosi's first cry. The next morning, when Nkosi awoke, the air felt different, thick with a silence that carried secrets. She looked at her reflection in the water bowl and wondered, "What is Mama hiding? Why does my head have to stay bare?" The answers waited in the shadows of Umuaro, and Nkosi was about to uncover them, one step at a time. The dawn mist called low over Umuaro village as Nkosi rose from her raffia mat. A faint hum filled the air, a sound like the low rumble of distant drums, though she couldn't tell if it was real or just inside her head. Her smooth scalp tingled beneath the cool breeze. She traced a finger along the faint razor lines Mama Nkosi had drawn the night before. Mama Nkosi was already outside, bending over the fire. The smell of boiling yam drifted into the room. When Nkosi stepped out, her mother glanced up, worry hidden behind a tired smile. "Morning, NWAM," Mama said softly. Nkosi hesitated. Mama. Why must my head always stay bare? Mama's hand paused mid-stir. The fire cracked. It is how our mothers kept their daughters safe, she said, eyes fixed on the pot. A clean crown keeps away certain spirits. Nkosi frowned. What spirits? Before Mama could answer, a sudden splash echoed from the riverbank. Papa Nkosi's fishing canoe had returned early. He stepped into the yard, his feet coated in wet red mud, his broad shoulders glistening like dark stone, his eyes narrowed at Nkosi. Child, you ask too many questions, he said, voice sharp as the blade of his paddle. Go fetch water for your mother. Nkosi obeyed, but the words lingered like smoke. Spirits. Safe from what? The path to the river was alive with morning sounds, crickets, distant goat bleats, and the soft murmur of women gossiping as they washed clothes. Nkosi lowered her calabash into the water and watched her reflection ripple. The bald head that once felt ordinary now seemed like a mark, a silent drumbeat calling her toward something she didn't understand. A rustle behind her made her turn. An old woman in a tattered blue wrapper stood beneath the tall bamboo. Her eyes were clouded like storm clouds, yet piercing. Child of the moon, the woman rasped, pointing a crooked finger. The crown you carry is not for the village. It will speak when the river calls. Nkosi stepped back, heart pounding. Who are you? But the woman only smiled, a gap-toothed grin that felt both kind and frightening. Keep your head bare, girl. Do not let the blade rest. The day you cover it, the river will know your name. Before Nkosi could speak, a gust of wind swirled dust into her eyes. When she looked again, the woman was gone, as if she had never been there. At supper that evening, Nkosi tried to speak of the strange encounter, but Papa Nkosi slammed his palm against the wooden table. Enough. His voice rattled the bamboo walls. You will not bring foolish tales into this house. Tomorrow you stay inside. Mama Nkosi said nothing, but her eyes flicked toward her daughter's gleaming head, and for a heartbeat, Nkosi saw fear, deep, silent fear. That night, the humming returned, louder, pulsing with the rhythm of the river. Nkosi sat upright on her mat, heart thundering. She felt something, an invisible pull, urging her toward the riverbank. The moonlight slipped through the cracks in the walls like silver fingers. She rose quietly, feet bare on the cool earth. As she reached the doorway, Mama Nkosi's voice came low and urgent from the shadows. Nkosi, she whispered, if the river calls your name, do not answer. Promise me. Because once the river knows you, it will never let you go. The words sank into Nkosi's chest like stones in deep water. The hum outside grew stronger, almost a melody. Somewhere beyond the dark trees, the river waited, alive, listening. The night air shimmered with moonlight as Nkosi stood frozen at the hut doorway. The strange humming grew louder, a deep, steady beat that seemed to rise from the very soil. Her bare scalp prickled. She looked back at Mama Nkosi, whose face glowed pale in the lantern's dim light. Mama, Nkosi whispered, what does the river want from me? Mama Nkosi's lips trembled. It wants what it was promised. Before Nkosi could ask more, Papa Nkosi stepped out of the darkness. His eyes held a storm she had never seen. Enough of this, he said, voice heavy. I will speak. He lowered himself onto a stool, the fishing net still slung over one shoulder. Before you were born, he began, the river rose higher than ever before. It swallowed 3 huts and nearly took your mother's life. The village elder said a child would come, a girl whose head must stay bare to carry the river's spirit safely. That child was you. Nkosi's heart thudded. Why me? Papa's jaw tightened. The river chose. But I would not give you to it. That is why I kept you hidden, why I forbade schooling, so the world would not notice the child of the prophecy. Mama Nkosi's eyes filled with tears. We shaved your head to keep you safe. The old belief says hair draws the river's call. As long as your crown stays bare, its power sleeps. Nkosi felt a strange mix of fear and wonder. And if I grow my hair? Papa looked toward the door where moonlight spilled across the floor. The river will awaken, and it will want its daughter back. The humming deepened, almost a chant. Without thinking, Nkosi stepped outside. The path to the river glowed faintly, like a silver thread under the moon. She walked toward the sound, her parents close behind. At the riverbank, the water gleamed like molten glass. The current whispered her name, soft at first, then clear, Nkosi, Nkosi. A surge of power swelled inside her chest. She felt the water's rhythm match her heartbeat. For a moment, she wanted to step in, to surrender to the strange, beautiful call, but then she heard Momo's trembling voice behind her. You are more than a prophecy, my child. You belong to the living, not the river. Nkosi knelt by the water and stared at her reflection, bald head shining like a new moon. The river's call grew faint, then faded into silence. She felt something loosen inside her, like a knot untying. She turned to her parents. I will stay, she said softly. I will live my own story. Papa Nkosi's eyes shone with pride and relief. Mama Nkosi embraced her, whispering, your crown is your own. From that night, the river never called again. Nkosi grew up strong and brilliant, finally going to school despite her father's old fears. She chose when to shave her head and when to let her hair grow. Each choice has a lone, destiny whispers, but choice speaks louder. Nkosi's story teaches that tradition and prophecy need not imprison us. Our lives belong to us, not to old fears or ancient promises. Courage is the power to listen to every calling, then decide for ourselves which one to follow.